Welcome to Recap Our Studio.
The film opens on Jerry, a 30-year-old man who represents professional athletes as their agent. Jerry's experience and status as an agent made him the go-to choice for high-profile athletes in every sport. Because of that, Jerry amassed a fortune. One night, Jerry couldn't sleep because, despite his immense wealth, he believes a sports agent's primary duty isn't to maximize profit at all costs. Rather, he believes loyalty to the players and the teams is essential. The problem is that if Jerry chooses loyalty, he won't be able to take care of as many players, which will reduce his earnings. So, late at night, Jerry wrote down all he was thinking. Jerry shares his work with his coworkers by bringing copies of his writings to the workplace. When Jerry woke up next morning, he was horrified by what he had written. Even more so, Jerry felt bad about having his coworkers be the ones to read it. After that, Jerry went to his workplace, where he got an unexpectedly enthusiastic reception. His friends had agreed with the ideas he had conveyed in his writing, and Jerry was therefore hailed as the first person to publicly proclaim these views. However, it has come to light that Jerry's supervisor dislikes his writing since it has the potential to bring financial ruin to their firm. A single agent looking out for only one player will not bring in very much cash. Jerry was checking in for his flight the next day. Suddenly, Jerry was introduced to Dorothy, a colleague at the office. Dorothy, it turns out, really admired Jerry for having the guts to create a truly groundbreaking piece of literature. Since Jerry is the top agent at his company, the following day is a celebration in his honor. Working with famous athletes, Jerry was able to raise a substantial sum of money for his company. The rumor then spread that Jerry had a really attractive girlfriend. Jerry felt buoyant during the celebration because he knew his fiancée and pals would always have his back. Therefore, Jerry's happiest night was that one. Jerry's manager asked him out to lunch the next day. But suddenly, Jerry's supervisor decided to terminate him because he didn't like Jerry's notion of having each agent take care of a single player, which he felt would have a detrimental effect on the business as a whole. Since Jerry was the one who mentioned the office's name, he got enraged instantly. Jerry also commented on how ungrateful his employer was. Jerry proceeded by saying he would shuttle customers to and from his workplace. Jerry and his superior went back to the office to continue their dispute regarding clientele. Customers were individually contacted by both parties and given the option to remain in the workplace or join Jerry. When Jerry started calling his customers individually, he got a rude awakening. Since Jerry was now self-employed, they felt more secure staying at the workplace than staying with him. Jerry's only remaining customer was named Ron, whom he phoned after being abandoned by everyone else. Jerry was feeling down at the moment, but Ron, for no apparent reason, asked him to dance. Know of how Jerry feels about Ron, he is still Jerry's customer, thus Jerry must act in accordance with Ron's wishes. By that time, Jerry had reached the breaking point and was yelling his lungs out in his office. Hence, Rod accepted Jerry's offer to be his agent. After then, Jerry went home from his office chair in his room feeling quite down since his customers had abandoned him. Before he left, Jerry made sure he had a good look around his whole workplace. He took pride in the fact that his efforts had allowed the space to grow to its current size. He felt deeply deceived by his boss's decision to terminate him at the moment. However, once again, Jerry was helpless. Jerry, who thought he was still very good, was certain of his continued greatness. At that time, he made an offer to everyone he knew in the workplace who was interested in a job change. You could come work for him. Unfortunately, Jerry didn't have any pals who were interested in coming along. Even Jerry's secretary had no interest in following him. He was also ashamed that he had not been able to attract any true buddies. Jerry felt ashamed even back then. Stupid Jerry has taken it upon himself to steal fish from the aquarium in order to have a group of devoted followers. Jerry says it's okay if they all turn on him since there are certain fish that are completely faithful to him no matter what. Upon seeing that Jerry was going to leave his office, Dorothy made a snap decision to join him. Naturally, Jerry was overjoyed that anyone had faith in him. What can you do? It's just life. Even when life is really difficult and threatens to bring us down, God always finds a way to strengthen us. Thanks to Dorothy's encouragement, Jerry found the will to revive his career. Additionally, it has been reported that Dorothy does, in fact, have a son. Since Jerry hadn't yet settled on a project, her elder sibling reprimanded her for leaving the workplace to follow in his footsteps. Dorothy, though, reassured her sibling that Jerry would be successful again because of her faith in him. Jerry's future wife Avery also backed him up, telling him he will do well again. Jerry meets the greatest rugby player in the world the next day, who was set to sign with the Premier League and would be his best possible client. The client's father is then called upon to help Jerry overcome his fear of rejection. However, Jerry was taken aback when his client readily accepted him as his agent. Naturally, Jerry was over the moon. The overwhelming sense of gratitude and relief caused him to burst into a bear embrace for his customer. On the walk back to his house, Jerry reflected on how pleased he was that day. Don't forget that Jerry boasted to Dorothy right afterwards that he had landed his dream customer, and that he was confident in his future success from then on. The next day marked the start of the player trade. In his role as an agent, Jerry naturally promotes his clients to rival nightclubs. Jerry has 2 clients right now. 2 of them are named Ron and Frank. Frank is a top player, so Jerry doesn't have to shop him around to other teams. If they want him, they'll come to him. In contrast, Rod is a bald, talentless, easily broken guy. That's why Jerry made it his mission to look after Rod and introduce him to the club's proprietors that night. When Jerry is done with Rod, he tends to Frank. Upon hearing that Frank was interested in joining a club, Jerry inquired which one Frank preferred, certain that he could help. Frank's betrayal of Jerry came out of the blue. Frank decided to switch representation and signed up with Jerry's old agency. Jerry is upset that Frank lied to him, but he knows he made a mistake by not signing the deal sooner. This means that Frank is free to leave Jerry without breaking any agreements with him. Avery was furious with Jerry at the moment because Jerry had betrayed one of his greatest clients. As far as Avery is concerned, Jerry is an idiot for not offering a contract to Frank. Suddenly, Avery began to worry that Jerry's career would never again achieve the heights it had. Jerry's humiliation and feelings of worthlessness at the hands of his fiancée forced him to make the difficult decision to quit their relationship. To top it all off, Jerry had a terrible day since everyone mocked and abandoned him. Jerry, understandably upset, went straight home to cool down. When he has the chance, he jumps rope with his family. Jerry had to do everything by himself once he got bored of jumping rope and understood that sometimes in life there is no one who encourages, supports, or assists him. In light of this development, Jerry opts to continue the conflict. Jerry has just one customer, Rod, so he meets him the next day. Rod told Jerry at that moment that he understood that he was now popular, but that he would never leave his side. After hearing it, Jerry knew it was preferable to have a customer with no skill than to get a client who needed a trade or his expertise. Then, Jerry visits Dorothy at her home. Because of all his issues, Jerry arrived to Dorothy's residence looking bewildered and anxious. The suddenness of Jerry's own laughter makes him seem insane. It's possible that this is correct. Attempting humor might be a distraction from the issue at hand. Dorothy's sister, who thought Jerry was a hopeless gambler, advised her to stay away from him because of the danger he posed. Dorothy said she understood that Jerry was at rock bottom, but she had faith that he would eventually rise again. Indeed, this is the case. Dorothy thought that being by a man's side while he built his life from scratch would be more lovely than being by his side as he rode the crest of his achievement. However, Jerry is a close friend of Dorothy's son. Dorothy's kid never found a father figure since he had never known one, even as a newborn. In any case, Jerry and Dorothy's kid were likely playing together at the time in question, with both parties sharing hearty bouts of laughter. After Dorothy returned, Jerry continued his erratic behavior while apparently under the influence of alcohol. Dorothy, having seen Jerry's manic behavior, felt sorry for him and ultimately persuaded him that Sunday would be the day he finally found success again. Jerry's representative, allegedly then began phoning every club owner to offer Rod. All of the teams were willing to sign Rod, but they all offered meager salaries. As soon as Jerry saw that Ron needed to adapt, he went to tell him that more work needed to be put into training. Yet again, Rod ignored Jerry in favor of babbling. Eventually, Jerry's patience with Rod ran out, and he became irate, telling Rod that he was broke. In order to collaborate, Jerry approaches Rod for assistance. Rod chuckled at Jerry's antics but said he'd be there to assist Jerry nevertheless. Jerry wakes up the next day certain that Dorothy is the only lady who supports him. This results in Jerry's developing feelings for Dorothy. The two went out to supper together that night after Jerry asked Dorothy out on a date. It was later discovered that Dorothy shared Jerry's interest, and the two made up that same night. And then Jerry secured contracts for Rod, but the contract Jerry received was so little that Ron's wife reprimanded Jerry, assuming Jerry had failed. Rod's better off merely switching agents to Jerry's former agency, his wife informed him. However, Rod flatly declined and said that he already had faith in Jerry. Rod is certain that they will be offered a more favorable deal in the near future. Since then, Rod has finally found the inspiration to improve his game. As Jerry and Rod become closer to one another, Jerry recounts Rod the tale of how he first fell in love. Ron warned Jerry about fooling around with single mothers, and Rod found out that Jerry was dating Dorothy. Thus, Jerry was compelled to commit to a long-term partnership with her. Jerry has to keep fighting for this lady. But Jerry said that he had doubts about moving forward at that time. After overhearing Rod say that Jerry should only settle down with a lady who is there for him when he is prosperous, Jerry decided to change his tune. Once Jerry was down, he understood that Dorothy was the one lady who was there for him. The next day, Dorothy revealed that she needed financial assistance in order to provide for her kid. Since Dorothy's job required her to go out of town, she ultimately had to break up with Jerry. Jerry, remembering Ron's words of wisdom, resolved to propose to Dorothy right away out of his fear of losing her. Dorothy said yes when Jerry proposed, and the two were married not long after. After that, Jerry's family and Rod's family got more closer. Jerry often suggested that he and his loved ones have dinner with Rod and his loved ones. Rod has put in more time at the gym as of late, and as a result, his performance in his chosen sport is steadily improving. Next, word is delivered to Jerry in Dorothy's house. Dorothy believed that Jerry still had doubts and didn't seem to love her after they were married. When Jerry's wife Dorothy finally asked him directly whether he loved her, he remained mute, a sign that he was still uncertain about his feelings. Dorothy had previously said that she didn't want Jerry to pity her. Jerry could leave her now if he didn't love her. When Dorothy eventually decided to leave Jerry, Jerry did nothing to discourage her. Rod's squad advanced to the playoffs the next day. That's because Rod's game was improving in a handful of yesterday's matchups. As a result of the significance of this match, all attention has been centered on it. Jerry and the rest of Rod's family attended the game to cheer him on. To everyone's surprise, Rod performed really well once the match finally got underway. Whoever was straining themselves to their limits till the last stroke of the match, Rod collapsed and lost consciousness. Jerry's terror was shared by everyone. Rod thankfully had a moment of clarity early on, and the bout was quickly called. After his team's victory, Rod was hailed as a hero. Rod, who is prone to joking around, was, unsurprisingly, up on his feet. Despite being surrounded by reporters after the match, Rod didn't forget to give a quick embrace to Jerry. Jerry's ex-boss was reportedly also in attendance. He wished he had Jerry's fortune. There was a lot of joy in Jerry's heart that day since he knew he had once again achieved his goals. He thought back on Dorothy, realizing that he never would have made it this far without her. Upon realizing that Dorothy was the one for him, Jerry made a beeline for her home. Upon meeting Dorothy, Jerry proclaimed his undying love for her, claiming she was the missing piece to his puzzle. However, Dorothy countered that maybe it was really a fleeting impression of him, given that they had not known one another for very long. On the other hand, Jerry insisted that longevity isn't the main factor. Whoever makes it through the most difficult times will ultimately win. Jerry wanted Dorothy at his side not just while he was struggling but also when he was doing well. They chose to reconcile after Dorothy's touch. The fact that Ron won the MVP that year means that Rod is being called to appear on many TV networks. Then, out of nowhere, the presenter announced that Rod had secured a lucrative deal. Happy and grateful, Rod expressed his appreciation to his loved ones and his community. Finally, Rod did not overlook the importance of thanking Jerry. If not for Jerry, he would never make it as a professional athlete, in his opinion. Jerry and his family are seen at the conclusion of the film to be doing well for themselves. He has regained his previous success and, in his wife, has found an ally in whom she can always confide. As Jerry discovered, sometimes God knocks you down so you may appreciate the glory of the top. Perhaps Jerry's heartbreak was divinely orchestrated to lead him to his soul mate.